investigation into the solitary clown in relation to manipulation of objects with reference to the pleasure of being. Solitude is a state of being alone and isolated from other people. It gives a person space and time to understand their own body and presence. And I quote, "Solitude is refreshing. It strengthens memory, sharpens awareness, and spurs creativity." End quote, Harris, 2017. This state of solitude can, however, leave the person feeling vulnerable and exposed, as it demands the person to experience the sound of silence. In terms of the solitary clown, this aloneness means they can use these feelings of refreshment, creativity, and vulnerability to discover new ways of being. The solitary clown challenges the expectation that the clown's purpose is to perform for their audience. Rather, the clown performs for themselves and with their desired audience. Once the solitary clown has found pleasure in their aloneness, they can then begin to find the pleasure in being with and around people. And I quote, "The clown illuminates for the audience what they have betrayed in order to fit in and grow up." End quote, Bayes, 2019. This concept of betraying the idea of growing up is crucial to unlocking creativity and discovery for the solitary clown. This childishness unlocks new possibilities, and the manipulation of objects works as a tool to achieve this. The objects become a partner for the clown, much like a juggler's partner is their juggling balls. They depend on each other, and they build a relationship in order for them to be successful in their actions. Along with this betrayal of growing up, the willingness to say yes to any offer given to the performer by the object is also an important aspect of this investigation. And I quote, "Those who say yes are rewarded by the adventures they have." End quote, Wright, 2006. When in a space, objects such as toys act like a key to unlocking this childishness and creativity, and the act of saying yes allows the performer to discover new ways of living. Toys such as Buckaroo and Pop-Up Pirate display individual characteristics and personas. These then lead the clown to get propositions and ideas from these objects, leading the clown to build specific relationship. In relation to the solitary clown, the objects in the space are equal to that of an audience in the space. Objects fill the empty room, they propose scenarios, they give a clown a direction, a purpose, and they satisfy the clown's need for for human interaction. This then begins to question the clown's need for a live audience. Working with an inanimate audience that allows the solitary clown to embrace the silence and lack of human presence and find pleasure in their solitude. As Peter Brook states, and I quote, "In silence there are many potentialities, chaos or order, muddle or pattern, all lie fallow, the invisible made visible." End quote, Brook, 1995. For the clown, they thrive off their audience's laughter and interactions. However, for the solitary clown, they are unaware of this relationship. This lack of human presence and laughter adds a level of search and discovery, meaning they have to utilize the objects in the space as a way to fulfill this lack and make the invisible presence visible through their imagination. To achieve this constant manipulation, imagination and play is needed. For the solitary clown, they must use these techniques, specifically play, to create a double imagination, meaning the clown is manipulated as well as the object. And I quote, "Play occupies a liminal world between the actual and the imaginary." End quote, Wright, 2006. Looking at a chair, for example, this object can be manipulated into a machine gun or a lion. However, the clown uses play to unlock their double imagination. So this chair that has been transformed into a lion has now led the clown into the world of the zoo. This ever-evolving improvisation and playfulness with the inanimate objects allows the clown to find pleasure and entertainment in their solitude, meaning they do not feel the absence of the live audience. But one question within this particular study is, if the clown does not need the presence of a live audience, does this mean a clown can still be a clown behind closed doors? As discussed earlier, one aspect is that the solitary clown is unaware of this open door and is content with the unknowing. However, one can argue that each clown can be identified as a different representation of the world. The tragic clown, for example, represents the world through an absurd and traumatic vision, and I quote, "In tragic clown, there is no buffer, no optimism. Life hits you hard and knocks you over." End quote, Wright, 2006. And for the pathetic clown, they display the hopeless optimism and consequences of their actions. For the solitary clown, their view on the world is through aloneness and finding pleasure in their solitude. They are naive, and they have a constructed unawareness of the world around them. Using this outlook on the world, the clown must be able to be a clown behind closed doors, as this is where they are able to fully experience the life of a solitary clown. However, the purpose of this research is based on practice and how this study can be applied to a performance. This paper has discussed how a solitary clown does not need an audience present in order for them to be. But how does the performer share these findings? How can the solitary clown be solitary with an audience? This requires the clown to add an element of adaptation to their list of techniques. As mentioned earlier, once a person can find pleasure in their solitude, this then allows them to adapt to new situations and enjoy being with the people around them. For the solitary clown, as they have found this pleasure in being alone and in the company of their objects, they are able to adapt to being around an audience. In conclusion, the solitary clown is technical. They use techniques that can be applied when in a rehearsal room and techniques that can be applied when opposed by an audience. When in a rehearsal room, they are only opposed by objects in the space. The solitary clown uses techniques that are shown within children and how children play by themselves, such as imagination and creativity. And I quote, "Most of the contents of children's make-believe play, at least in the modern Western culture, are drawn from the realm of fantasy and imagination." End quote, Ariel, 2002. Once the clown is faced with an audience, they are then required to apply techniques within clown practice. Techniques used within clown practice, such as clocking and timing. And I quote, "Timing devices like these are invaluable, not just in making comedy, but in making theatre in general." End quote, Wright, 2006. Through the blending of childish play and clowning techniques, allows the solitary clown to fully appreciate the lack as well as the presence of the live audience. Using objects as a way to unlock play and multiple different imaginations means the solitary clown can find pleasure in the solitude and can fill the absence of the live audience when in a rehearsal room. However, having this relationship with the audience also means that when an audience is present, they have the same value as the objects, allowing the solitary clown to perform for themselves and with their desired audience. Thank you.